Hey guys, so we're going to be doing a short story that was posted when they redid Mount Targon. We started with Mount Targon and now we're going to Aurelion Sol. I decided to pick Aurelion Sol first instead of the others because he's the newest champion that is out, and they redid Mount Targon specifically for Aurelion Sol and Tariq's rework. So we'll start with Aurelion Sol and then we'll go to Tariq. So this is Aurelion Sol, the Star Forager. Cower, worship, marvel, they are all appropriate responses. Aurelion Sol once graced the vast emptiness of the cosmos with celestial wonders of his own devising. Now he's forced to wield his awesome power at the behest of a spacefaring empire that tricked him into servitude. Desiring a return to his star-forging ways, Aurelion Sol will drag the very stars from the sky if he must, in order to regain his freedom. The appearance of a comet often portends to a period of upheaval and unrest. Under the auspices of such fiery harbingers, it is said that a new empire will rise, old civilizations will fall, and even the stars themselves may tumble from the sky. These theories merely scratch the surface of a far more bizarre truth, that the comet's radiance cloaks a cosmic being of unfathomable power. The being now known as Aurelion Sol was already ancient by the time stellar debris first coalesced into the worlds. Born in the first breath of creation, he roamed the vast nothingness, seeking to fill a canvas of incalculable breadth with marvels, those whose twinkling spectre brought him a considerable delight and pride. A celestial dragon is an exotic creature. As such, Aurelion Sol seldom encountered any equals. As more forms of life emerged to fill the universe, a multitude of primitive eyes gazed up and beheld his work with wonder and breathless pondering. Flattered by his audience of countless worlds, he became fascinated by his fledgling civilizations, who crafted amusingly self-centered philosophies on the nature of his stars. Desiring a deeper connection with one of the few races he deemed worthy, the cosmic dragon selected the most ambitious species to grace with his presence. These chosen few sought to unravel the secrets of the universe, as had already expanded beyond their home planet. Many verses were composed about the day the Star Forager descended into a tiny world and announced his presence to the Targonians. An immense storm of stars filled the skies and twisted into a massive form as marvelous as it was terrifying. Cosmic wonders swirled and twinkled throughout the creature's body. New stars shone brightly and constellations rearranged at his whim. Appropriately awed by his illuminant powers, the Targonians titled the dragon Aurelion Sol and presented him with a gift as a token of respect. A splendid crown of star gems, which he promptly donned. Before long, though, boredom drew Aurelion Sol back to his work in the fertile vastness of space. However, the further from the reach of that tiny world he traveled, the more he felt a grasping at his very essence, pulling him off his path, directing him elsewhere. He could hear voices shouting, commanding, from across the cosmic expanse. The gift he received was no gift at all, it seemed. Outraged, he fought these controlling impulses and attempted to break his bonds by force, only to discover that with each attack against his newfound masters, one of his stars vanished forever from the firmament. A powerful magic now yoked Aurelion's Sol, forcing him to wield his powers exclusively for Targon's benefit. He battled chitinous beasts that tore at the fabric of this universe. He clashed with other cosmic entities, some of which he had known since the dawn of time. For millennia he fought Targon's wars, crushed any threats to its dominance, and held it a forge a star-spanning empire. All of these tasks were at waste of his sublime talents. After all, it was he who birthed light into the universe. Why must he pander to such lowly beings? As his past glory slowly vanished from the celestial realm for lack of maintenance, Aurelion's soul resigned himself to never again bask in the warmth of a freshly ignited star. Then he felt it, a weakening in his unwilling pact. The voices from the crowd grew sporadic, clashing and arguing with each other, while some fell ominously silent. An unknown catastrophe he could not fathom had thrown off the balance of those who bound him. They were scattered and distracted. Hope crept into his heart. Driven by the tantalizing possibility of impending freedom, Aurelion's soul arrives on the world where it all began, Runeterra. It is here the balance will finally tip in his favor. With it, civilizations across the stars bear witness to his rebellion and again play audience to his might. All will learn that fate befalls those who strive to steel themselves for the power of the cosmic dragons. So this is Twin Dawns, which is basically chapter 2. This world's familiar sun still hides below the horizon. Crude and unpolished earth unfurls below. Mountains contort into barriers that stretch like fingers across the empty scrub lands. Palaces, or rather what pass for palaces, fail to loom over anything but the squattest of hills. The curvature of the planet meets the stars with a serenity and grace few of the dwellers below will ever witness. They are so scattered across the globe and grasp so blindly for any sort of understanding that it is no surprise that they have been conquered and don't even comprehend their predicament. A fiery sheen I've gathered as I streak towards my preordained destination illuminates the world beneath me. Pockets of warning, fearful, rejoicing life tucks itself into any fertile nook it can find below. Oh, how they gaze and point as I streak over their heads. I've heard the names they call me: prophet, comet, monster, god, demon. So many names, all missing the mark. In a vast stretch of desert, I feel a twinge of familiar magic emanating from the seat of the premier civilization among these savages. Lo and behold, a massive sun disk is under construction. The poor enslaved laborers beat their heads and rend their clothes in my wake. Their cruel masters see me, a streaking bolt of fire, as pertinent of good omen, no doubt. My passing will be etched in their uncouth pictograms upon common stone, and homage to the great comet, the blessing of the sky god gracing their holy works, and so forth. The disk's sole purpose is to funnel the sun's majesty into the most renowned of these fleshy humanoids, transforming them into exactly what this planet needs: more insufferable demigods. This effort will undoubtedly backfire, but I suppose they might last a brief while, perhaps 1,000 years or so, before they fall and are supplemented by others. The desert below fades into the night, trailing behind me as I streak across the lonely steppes. Then over the rolling brown hills gently flecked with greenery, the pastoral scenery bellies fields battered with blood and littered with the dead and dying. Survivors hack away at each other with rough-hewn axes and scream battle cries. One side is losing badly. Stag skulls rest atop pikes stuck into the soil next to writhing warriors. There are few still on their feet, encircled by soldiers riding the great shaggy beasts. Those defeated, surrounded, few see me and vigilance seems to surge through their veins. The wounded rise and grasp their axes and bows in a final stance that throws their foes off guard. I don't linger to see how the rest of the clash plays out, because I've seen this scenario unfold a thousand times. The survivor will scratch my comet likeliness into their cave walls. In 1,000 years their descendants will fly my image on banners and undoubtedly ride into a tediously similar battle. For all their efforts to capture and record history, one ponders why they do not learn from their mistakes. That is a lesson that I had to suffer. I leave them to perpetuate their bleak cycle. My trajectory reveals more inhabitants. Their collective repertoire of reactions span the typical gamut. Pointing, kneeling, sacrificing virgins upon stony altars. They look up and see a comet, and never ask what lies beneath the blazing facade. Instead, they stamp it into their own self-centered worldviews, muddying the splendor of my visage. A few more advanced life forms, and I use that description loosely, gaze up and jot down my coordinates in scientific almanacs instead of using me as a prophecy fodder. It's mildly refreshing, but even their developing notions of intellect seem to indicate that I am regularly appearing phenomena with a predictable orbit. All the feats they could accomplish, if only. Well, no use dwelling on wasted potential of the simple-minded terrestrial born. It is not entirely their fault. Evolution does not seem to have a difficult time gaining traction in this world. But alas, the novelty of such infantile antics has worn thin. The grasping energies of my magical bondage has dragged me from one paltry world to another for centuries. Now it has led me back to this familiar and unpleasant rock. The star that floods its surface with light was one of my earliest creations, a confluence fraught of love and radiance. Ah, that cherished moments when she flared to life with colors only her creator could see. How I miss the star's crackling new energy warming my face and trickling through my fingers. Each star gives off a unique energy, precious and reflecting its creator's soul. They are cosmic snowflakes burning in defiance of the infinite dark. Unfortunately, the memories I long to dwell upon are tainted by betrayal. Yes, this is the place where Targon lured me into servitude, but now is not the time to linger on past mistakes. Those musty aspects must need to seal yet another breach, in their name, of course. Then I see her, the world's imbued warrior, alone at the peak with one of the smaller summits, brandishing a starstone spear. She watches me through the veil of annexed flesh, a mere spark masquerading as lightning. A thick braid of auburn hair is draped over her shoulder, falling over a golden breastplate that covers her pale, freckled skin. Her eyes, the only bit of her face that is not shielded by a battle-worn helmet, flash a jarring shade of red. She calls herself Pantheon, the warring fury of Targon's incarnate. She is not the first of this world to wear the Pantheon mantle, nor will she be the last. Her glimmering cape flaps out behind her as she raises a muscled arm and takes motion like she's pulling on a great chain. The tug on my crudely enchanted tether wrenches me off course towards the mountain upon which she stands, and she's yelling at me. She cries out with a voice that booms inside my head, transmitted through this insufferable star-gem cornet. All sounds fade as she invades my mind. "Dragon!" she says, as if I'm a weak-winged beast of base-horn flange, lucky if it can ignite a tree. "Seal their gate," she commands, gesturing to the bottom of the rocky crevice with her pointy little spear. I don't see the need I don't need to see the violet erosion of the reality swimming below. I can smell the festering miasma that poisons this world before it even arrived. I fixed my eyes on the Pantheon instead. She expects me to fall in line like a dog on a leash. Today will be different. I've learned from my mistakes. Dragon, I purr. Are you sure commanding me with such a low name is wise? The Pantheon's grip on her spear loosens just enough for her to fumble for a weapon for a fraction of a second. She takes a step back, away from me, as if a single stride's distance could not protect her from my ire. Seal their gate, she says again, barking louder, as if perhaps the previous command went unheard. Her volume does little to mask the quiver in her voice. She thrusts her spear towards me, as if such a tiny weapon could pierce me. This is the first time I've ever seen an aspect of Targon shaken. She is not used to having to tell me twice. I will deal with those chittering horrors in due time, dear Pantheon. Do as you are commanded, Do as you are commanded, dragon, this Pantheon shouts, or this world will be lost. This world was lost the moment Targon surrendered itself to arrogance. I felt the Pantheon seething mingle with confusion as she struggles to grab hold of my immaterial reins. She is only now sensing what I have to learn. Targon is distracted and does not sense its magic faintly ebbing through from my bonds. Pantheon bellows once more. This time I cannot resist. The crude enchantment reigns sovereignty over my will. I turn my attention towards the force of the breach, nestled in the basin of the once barren valley, now strangled with creeping blue miasma. I sense the void-born provisions of life tunneling through reality's ferment, sending tides of unseen energy coursing through the ether. They shed the veil that separates nothingness and form with their unwelcoming passage. They're drawn to me, those multi-eyed, carapaced abominations. They seek to devour me. The greatness of their threats. From the reaches of my mind, I conjure an image of the solar furnaces I kindled before my fettering, which once ignited from the hearts of the stars. I lance out beams of pure starfire and ignite a wave after wave of those gnashing horrors, driving them backwards into their oblique infinity. Smoldering husks rain from the sky, and I am little surprised that they aren't wholly disintegrated. But then, again, the void-born don't know how these things work in this universe. A pulsing sickness lingers in the air from the epicenter of corruption. I feel a will, hungry and indomitable, and far from the typical mindlessness I am accustomed to from these voidling aberrations. The pulsing wound on reality yawns and buckles, distorting and warping all that it touches. Whatever exists on the other side is laughing. Pantheon shouts another command at me, but I ignore her words. This anomalous fissure in the universe entrances me. This is not the first of its kind that I've had to deal with, but this one feels different, and I can't help but admire the marvelously terrifying manipulation of the barriers between realms. Few beings could fathom its complexities, let alone possess the sheer magnitude of power needed to rend the fabric of existence. In my heart I know a wound is so exquisite could never be orchestrated by scuttling creatures. No, there must be more behind this intrusion. I shudder at the thought of what kind of entity is capable of inducing such a volatile rift. I don't need Pantheon's barked orders to tell me what to do next. Her array of requests have always been of a rather unlimited imagination. Anyway, she wants me to hurl a star at the rift, as if one can simply cauterize such moldering interdimensional abrasions and can be done with it. These obtuse demigods are my captors. Fine, at least they're not too far off in their logic by thinking a few searing cosmic wonders will remedy this problem. I will play the role of obedient servant just a little while longer. I enjoy what I do next, partly because they'll remember it, partly because it feels good and to let a little of the old power loose, but mostly because I wish to remind whatever intelligence that controls this void incursion that nobody laughs at me in the plane of my existence. The base elements in the atmosphere rally at my cause, accelerating into plasmic anomaly. The swelling starburst detonates at my unusual command. The result is a dwarf replica of one of my majestic glories burning in the depths of space. After all, I can't fling a full-fledged star in this fragile world. The young star's shimmering brilliance flies from my hands. It's joined by two sisters, always at my side. They careen around me in a radiant ballet. Their white-hot cores devouring the gathering clouds of dust and matter I draw towards us. We become a storm of stars, the night sky incarnate, the maddening gyre of starfire. I conjure eddies of steering stardust, exhaling a heat so pure and dense that it collapses the aurora of this world just the tiniest bit, further marring the planet's curvature. Core casing strands of stellar flame and pirouette from the center of the rift. Gravity melts in undulating waves of color amongst eyes that have never been able to witness. My star's warp matter as more fuel coalesces with their cores, causing them to shine brighter and burn hotter. The whole spectacle is breathtaking, a cascading dance of blinding light and searing heat so hot that for a fleeting moment the new spectra are birthed into existence. My spine tingles just a little bit at how good it feels. Trees splinter, rivers evaporate, and the mountain walls of the valley crumble in smoky avalanches. The tireless laborers erect their sun disk, and the soldiers taking the hill, the stargazers, the worshippers, are terrified. The doomsday prophets, the hopeless, the rising kings. All those who beheld the streaking comet with selfish eyes witnessed the enduring supernova at early dawn. Across this pitiful globe my radiance turns into the darkest night, into blinding day. What fictions will I conjure to explain this phenomenon? Even my Targon masters have rarely witnessed such display of my power. Certainly no terrestrial being has ever borne scars so severe of what is left that once verdant valley. When I am finished, nothing remains. Not even the incarnation of Pantheon. I can't say I'll miss her or her mindless barking. In the glowing aftermath of my carnage, the smoldering once mountains collapse until molten rubble streams, now flowing through the valley. This is the scar I have left upon this world. A surging of damning pain shoots through my body, radiating from that infernal crown. I am about to pay. My head stamps up and my eyes blink the bitter sight of a dying star. My heart's clasped shut. My mind's reel, and an overwhelming sense of despair ricochets through my very soul, emanating from deep and immediate sorrow, like the pulsing realization that you've lost something precious and know that it's all your fault. Some curious life forms I met long ago once asked how it was possible for me to remember every star I created. If only they could feel what it's like to create a single star, they would understand the sheer irrelevance of the question. That's how I know when one of my darlings winks out of existence, ejecting jets of energy, and with it the very substance of my own spirit. I see her death kneel in the heavens above. She shines brightly one last time in the pyroclasm that momentarily drowns her brothers and sisters. My heart shatters as the heavens are diminished in brutal retribution for turning my power on one of Targon's own. The sun is a sun is the price of a single pantheon, and this is the cost of my unfettered wrath. This is the kind of boorish sorcery I must deal with. Within seconds they have regained control of my reins and call me to a new task. On no other world would I exhibit such display of freedom, no matter how fleeting it was. What's more is that I've learned from their mistakes. A bit of me is free now, and in time I will return to this world, tap into this mysterious well of energy, and cast off the rest of my tether. I tune into the essence of war, twisting and contorting within fleshy vessels scattered across the cosmos. It wasn't happy about losing a mortal avatar in this world. Already, a new doomed host has been chosen to transform into the next irradiation of the Pantheon. A soldier from the Rakor, a tribe who cling at the base of Targon's mountain, siphoning off its power like barnacles. One day I shall meet this new incarnation of the Pantheon. Perhaps he will learn to find a new weapon and abandon that ludicrous spear. I sense the Pantheon's celestial kin scattered across the cosmos, and in a single instant all of their attention is focused on this world, where one of their earthly aspects was vaporized by their own weapon. Their confusion is mingled by growing desperation as they contend with each other to reign in their control of me. How I wish I could see their faces. As I launch myself from the gravity of this world, this Runeterra, I sense an emotion I have never felt from Targon before. Fear. So that's the end of this reading. The next reading I will be doing is Tark, and then we'll go backwards from there. So Leona, Diana, and Pantheon. So that's this reading. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a great day.